How did Denmark win an entire island in a poker game? And why is their capital Copenhagen competes with Plovdiv for the longest pedestrian street in the world? Today I will tell you 50 facts about the homeland of Lego. Stay until the end to find out why you shouldn't get on a bike drunk there. Before that, write us a quick comment about which country you want to make a video with facts for next time. You decide entirely. The Kingdom of Denmark is the third major Scandinavian country alongside Norway and Sweden. I say this is mainly because it is still debated whether Finland is in Scandinavia at all. Denmark consists mainly of the Jutland Peninsula, which lies to the north of Germany. It is also involved in the governance of Greenland and the Faroe Islands, but relations there are somewhat complicated. The Danes currently run their foreign policy. You know that Greenland is actually the largest island on Earth, unless of course you count Antarctica or Australia, which are also continents. And until 2009, Greenland was heavily dependent on Denmark. But then there is a referendum, and the huge island breaks away as an autonomous, self-governing province. Thus, the territory of Denmark is now officially considered to be about 43,000 square kilometers, which is more or less the size of the Netherlands. It consists of the Jutland Peninsula, as I already told you, but also 474 other islands. On land, however, it borders only one country, Germany. Wherever you stay in Denmark, you won't be more than 52 kilometers from the seashore. In 1946, the United States of America tried to buy Greenland for $100 million, but the Danes refused. By the way, as part of the joke, they should have sold it. Now they are free with the referendum for free. The population of Denmark is about 6 million people, which are spread over a plain whose highest point is 172 meters above sea level. In general, they are like the Dutch. They are highly threatened by rising ocean levels. In the past, Denmark was home to the Vikings, and many historians believe that it was there that their entire culture started, which subsequently spread and terrorized the old continent for hundreds of years. Did you know that towns across Europe that end in abbey or thorp, such as White Abbey or Scunthorpe, were actually founded by the Vikings? With exactly such endings, they named the settlements. The capital of Denmark is the beautiful city of Copenhagen, which is located on the island of Zealand, in the eastern part of the country, just opposite the Swedish Malmö. Copenhagen's population is 1.5 million people, which means that 25% of all people in Denmark live there. Sweden and Denmark are connected by a bridge that at one time simply went underwater. You've probably seen it in a picture somewhere. The whole distance is 12 kilometers. At one time, you just enter a 4-kilometer underwater tunnel and climb up to Copenhagen. The interesting thing about Copenhagen is that more than half of its residents travel by bicycle every day. This is also the most preferred transport in Denmark, despite their somewhat harsh climate. Probably preferred, by the way, because in Denmark, having your own car is considered a luxury. The average annual tax of this type of vehicle in 2022 reached 2,000 USD per year. In general, Denmark is a rich, but also very expensive country. VAT there is 25% if you want. They have categories such as books, public transport, or cultural events such as theaters, which are exempt from VAT, that is 0%. Otherwise, the income tax there can reach as much as 57%. That is, more than half of your salary goes to the state. At the expense of this, however, healthcare and education is completely free. The state takes but also gives. Therefore, the Danes are happy to pay their taxes. For 2022, Denmark is the country with the lowest corruption in all of Europe. The currency of Denmark is the Danish krone, and this is what their biggest 501,000 kroner bills look like. Although they are in the European Union and meet the criteria for the Eurozone, they refuse to adopt the euro as a currency. Did you know that the Disneyland theme parks were actually copied from Tivoli Park in Copenhagen? Walt Disney decided to make similar parks after visiting Tivoli and spending a whole day there. Actually, Denmark is home to the first amusement park in the entire world. It's called Bakep. People started gathering there as early as 1583. To this day, the park works. While it gives off that old-school feel, it's quite modernized. A little while ago, I mentioned the Faroe Islands, which are part of Denmark, but are located above Great Britain or as much as 1,000 kilometers from it. Did you know they were won at poker? In 1814, the King of Denmark played poker with the King of Norway. The two had quite a bit of wine, and the Norwegian bet the islands all in poker. However, his hand was weaker, and so the King of Denmark won them over. Can you imagine, in the morning there you get up for work, and the mayor announces that you are no longer Norwegian, but Danish, because that king got drunk and lost the entire archipelago. The Danes claim the longest uninterrupted pedestrian street in Europe. However, it is officially recognized that the longest one is located in Plovdiv. The distance is 1 kilometer and 800 meters, while the one in Copenhagen is 1.5 kilometers. you can't help but know Hans Christian Andersen, the most famous Danish writer. He is the man behind The Little Mermaid, Thumbelina, The Ugly Duckling, and a whole bunch of others. The Danes are famous for their bakeries. You must have tried the Danish butter biscuits, in whose round metal boxes the whole world keeps their sewing supplies. In Denmark, they have super unconventional holidays. For example, for them, the summer solstice around June 22nd is a very big thing, and the whole nation celebrates there. In the north, during this day, which is the longest of the year, the daylight lasts until 11. The Danes, like other northern people, believe in trolls. In many places, you can see absolutely huge figures made by artists in their honor. In general, trolls feature quite often in their folklore. The Danish language is part of the North Germanic languages, and is something between Scandinavian and German. It even sounds a bit Dutch. However, they have such strange letters there as E. So in the middle of the video, give a quick thumbs up in support, and let's continue with more interesting facts about Denmark. Did you know that there is no word for please in the Danish language? They obviously won't beg you for anything there. Instead, they use vir venlig instead, which translates literally as be so kind to. This phrase replaces please. In the style of Scandinavia, the Danish flag is crossed by 2 dashes. But did you know that this is actually one of the oldest unaltered flags in the history of the world? It was adopted way back in 1219, and it is already over 800 years old. Among others, Denmark also appears as one of the oldest monarchies in the world. Did you know that Lego was invented in Denmark by Ole Kirk Christensen in 1949? Lego from Latin, it translates as to put together, and from the derivative Danish I play well. At first, his factory was for assembled wooden toys, but then he switched to plastic and made a fortune. People from the capital sunbathe at the port in Copenhagen, and they don't care at all for the huge ships. In fact, the water there is so clean that you can safely swim in it. It is not polluted like other city ports around the world. Did you know that the first Ministry of the Environment was created in Denmark in 1971? As early as 50 years ago, this country began to promote green thinking and nature conservation. Separately, they are also the first to appoint a woman as a minister, back in 1924. This is something completely unthinkable for those times. In general, in Denmark, equality between all people is respected, and discrimination is kept to very low levels. Did you know that handball was invented in Denmark back in 1897? 2 teachers wrote the rules one afternoon and decided to test it with their students. Today, handball is one of the most famous sports in the world. Denmark's national dish is called steak flag, and is literally fried pork breasts, with boiled potatoes covered in gravy. By the way, their kitchen is called Neo-Nordic, and they have some pretty interesting stuff. The Danes are exceptional supporters of quality food. In the capital, Copenhagen alone, there are 15 restaurants with at least 1 Michelin star. Statistics show that every second day in Denmark is rainy. A little depressing, but a whole 175 days a year. It's raining there. They rarely get several consecutive days of sunshine. All beer lovers know the Danish Carlsberg. As the country is located next to Germany, they have serious roots in beer production, and they are large-scale consumers. It is not uncommon to see 15-year-olds having a beer each, with their parents, of course. However, never get on a bike drunk in Denmark. Not that they will take your license, but the fine is 300 USD. You also don't cross any street wherever you want. The fine is 150 US dollars. Seriously, they cross only in the permitted places and wait for the green even when the street is under construction and there is not a single car on it. As you can see from the video, people obey the laws. Facts about Denmark. The Danes definitely have a sense of humor and irony. This can even be seen in the names of some of their towns, such as my favorite, Middelfart. Sorry, well, I just couldn't help myself. Still others are translated as dandruff, sperm, or frog team. On April 9, 1940, the Germans invaded Denmark and captured it in 2 hours. Can you imagine a whole country in 2 hours? They did not meet any resistance, because a year earlier the Danes signed a peace treaty, which the Germans, however, violated. We come to a paradox. The Danes are both super polite and kind. Yet words like thank you, I'm sorry, and please are super rare. I confirm this because I have Danish friends, and when they are in the bar, they literally say to the bartender, "Hey, give me beer." The inspiration behind the name of the data transfer technology Bluetooth comes from the Danish Viking king, Harold the Blonde, or in translation, Harold the Bluetooth. He united all the tribes in the past and introduced Christianity. Some of the most famous actors are from Denmark, like Mads Mikkelsen and Viggo Mortensen. You just don't know them. Scarlett Johansson and Niels Bohr also have Danish roots. In general, the rule is that surnames ending in son and sen are Scandinavian. In Denmark, they have a New Year's tradition of jumping out of a chair as soon as the clock strikes 12. Seriously. They climb into the chairs, and instead of kissing and celebrating, the first thing they do is jump into the new year from a chair. The Danes, like other Scandinavians, have a specificity called hygge that is not found anywhere else in the world. Hygge is to light candles, wear some soft clothes, go somewhere warm with friends, watch a movie, and drink some expensive red wine. The cool and windy climate actually has its advantages, and Denmark is known as the capital of wind generators. They are literally everywhere. 50% of the country's energy needs are met by wind, with a large number of turbines even offshore. Denmark has been in the European Union since 1973. They joined with its first expansion. In addition, they were among the founders of NATO back in 1949. In the last decade, the Danes have been competing with the Finns in the happiest nation in the world category. In 2023, Finland again took first place, with Denmark coming in second. At the bottom of this ranking, among others, are Afghanistan and Lebanon. In Denmark, 10% of kindergartens are in forest areas or large parks. This allows for outdoor lessons and connecting with nature from an early age. Quite an interesting approach indeed. Thumbs up if you liked the video and subscribe to our channel. You can see our previous video now on your screen. Go ahead and watch it if you didn't. I will expect you there.